Hi there, everybody. This is John Drew here from Elevated Planet, and I am here with my good friend Ruah Bull. How you doing, Ruah?
I am good today. Thanks, John. How are you?
Fantastic, thank you. I'm living the dream, the Elevated Planet dream, and it doesn't get any better than this. So, it's been a while since we've rambled, and today I know that you're going to start with a poem, and we're going to just let the whole thing unfold as we do.
Well, I wanted to begin with this because our topic today is love. And I've been thinking a lot about how people think about love, reflect on love, and will sometimes use an idea of love as a way of dismissing or diminishing or negatively judging other kinds of emotions that arise as we're dealing with these tumultuous times. So, this is a poem by Julia Fehrenbacher. I thought I wanted to begin with this as sort of setting a frame for what we're going to be talking about in terms of what love is. I am making a home inside myself, a shelter of kindness where everything is forgiven, everything allowed, a quiet patch of sunlight to stretch out without hurry, where all that has been banished and buried is welcomed, spoken, listened to, released. A fiercely friendly place I can claim as my very own. I am throwing arms open to the whole of myself, especially the fearful, fault finding, falling apart, unfinished parts, knowing every seed and weed, every drop of rain has made the soil richer. I will light a candle, pour a hot cup of tea, gather around the warmth of my own blazing fire. I will howl if I want to, knowing this flame can burn through any perceived problem, any prescribed perfectionism, any lying limitation, every heavy thing. I am making a home inside myself where grace blooms in grand and glorious abundance, a shelter of kindness that grows all the truest things. I
Beautiful.
wanted to begin our conversation on love today, really speaking about where I come from, which is there are a lot of spiritualities that say certain emotions are okay and certain emotions aren't, that some are good and some are negative. And so people try to jump over the negative into the positive. And yet, I believe the spiritual teaching I follow is that if from a container of loving kindness, I welcome in everything and I encounter it, then I can find out, is there a message? Is there a teaching? Is there something being asked to be healed? I was working with somebody the other day who was experiencing enormous fear, and we didn't just go right to courage. We went inside and we invited in the part that was afraid. And it was a little boy who was tormented and bullied when he was in fourth grade. And so rather than saying, oh, we'll get rid of the fear, we're just going to jump into whatever, we brought in that little boy with tenderness and kindness and offered a space of healing so he could be less afraid. So I just wanted to bring this out that when we're talking about love, we're not talking about negating some emotions and only accepting others. We're talking about building that container of kindness where everything is welcomed, everything is loved, and everything is being open to heal. Because, even working with this person, you don't want that frightened little boy driving the bus. You don't want to say, okay, stay afraid for the rest of your life. You come in, honey, what's going on? What are you scared about? What do you need? How can I support you? It's all right to be frightened. I'm right here holding the space. Let's be with this together. And that's how fear can eventually be transmuted, not by making it negative, but by welcoming it into that space of kindness. So that's kind of how I wanted to set our tone. And John, I feel that a lot with the things you bring in and Jolie's meditations. is that, you know, we welcome, we notice, and we bring to healing. We
Mm.
know, you know, instead of, well, that's a negative emotion, so I can't go there. What we know psychologically is if you repress an emotion, it doesn't end. In fact, you and I were talking earlier, a lot of the gift of what's happening in my country right now is that a number of years ago, people were talking about there's no more racism, there's no more sexism, there's no more dislike of the, you know, it's like we've transcended all of that. Well, what's happening with the, you know, Dr. Chaos in Chief is all of a sudden all this stuff that we thought wasn't there is there. So I have to take a look at, oh my gosh, are there places where I'm still racist? I can't pretend it's not there. I need to welcome that in. What is this about? Can you tell me about yourself? What made you believe this? How do we address this? So so that's why, you know, I just wanted to kind of hold that space. Everything is welcome. It's more, I don't set up camp and spend my life in fear. But the only way that it can shift emotion, energy and motion is to welcome it with kindness and tenderness and a grounded container, and then invite in that love that is healing.
Mm.
So I hope I does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. The poem was excellent, and you know, the idea of making a home inside yourself, and I mean, where can I begin here? Right. Okay. So forgiveness, right? So important. Self-forgiveness as well as forgiveness of others. Because I mean, Jolé always makes this point that to be not prepared to forgive means obviously you're hanging on to it. It's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So so the way you work with it is you go into that experience of bitterness and holding on. You welcome in the part of you that is refusing to forgive, because I need to forgive the part that does not want to forgive. And then we can sit down and I can say to it, I mean, I can see it in my mind's eye right now. It's this bitter, contracted, you hurt me, so I'm going to hurt you part. So, and if I tell that part where you have to forgive, it just contracts more. So if I invite it in and say, honey, tell me your story. What are you feeling? What do you need?
Yeah.
And then you can sort of see it like a bit of crumpled newspaper start to open a little bit. The energy starts to flow a little bit. And then there's more spaciousness for everyone. And then the forgiveness can begin to come in. But it begins with me forgiving myself for being unforgiving,
Right.
you know? I mean, it's one of the things people are talking about is like all the hatred around. Hatred can, this is a terrible thing to say, but hatred can feel yummy.
Mm.
People can get energized,
For
you
sure.
know.
They can
If
get
I
addicted. You can
feel
get addicted to
get
hatred.
addicted to it, if any part of me feels less than, well, boy, if I can like hate you and feel superior to you. So we need to hold a space for what is this about,
Mm.
and how do we meet it with respect and tenderness, and say, all right, let's find out what's at the heart of this bitterness.
Mm.
And that's, I think, what a lot of us are being called to do right now. And it's the path to beauty. It's the
Mm.
path to wholeness.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And you know, one of the things again, as you were talking and as we were going through the poem and everything, you know, this thing about allowing these things to flow through, and that the importance of that. And I think part of this just made me think about the fact is here we are, we're having a human experience, right? My belief is we're immortal spirits having a human experience. We're here on purpose. We're here with a some sort of plan, but the trouble is we can't remember what the plan is. But part of being human is actually being able to experience a gamut of emotions, all the way from unconditional love, all the way down to the depths of despair, fear, hatred, and rage. Okay. And the whole human experience means that if you're just trying to keep yourself at the top of that emotional spiral and say, "Oh no, I don't accept anything beneath this," this is not what it's about,
That's right. That's right.
right? As long as you say, as long as you're not immersed in those negative emotions, which means you do have an issue, it has to be released. Now, as a Brit, I'm also growing up in a country where repression, bottle it up, don't show your emotions has
Right.
always been the way, right? And I
Right.
noticed this more when I went to, say, live in America. And again, it's not the repression here isn't as bad as it used to be, but
Mm.
that's part of the culture. And really, this is what part of the journey that I have learned over these last years is to allow things. And I think this is really important now because if you believe in the ascension into new earth, we are in a phase, and I know this is true because I've seen it in people around me as well, that anything that has been repressed is coming back to the surface to be released.
Exactly right.
The planet is going through the same thing herself.
Exactly.
And it's like, you mentioned about the emotions, and I remember reading this, and I can't even remember who put it, but allowing your emotions to flow through like you're holding a frightened child,
Yeah.
and having that degree of empathy and everything. So exactly, what you said there just brought that straight back to me. So one of the other things as well that we talked about a lot, and I know it works, and it was Ann Tucker, the lady that channels the angels. She's excellent.
Mm.
And one of the things that she was talking about, and I know a number of the people that follow her were saying about how effective it is, it was this 90-second release. Might
Yeah.
have mentioned it on here before. You know, when you feel it, don't fight it, bring it in. Allow it to overtake you as much as you can for 90 seconds. And then at the end of it, say, with love, I release you,
Yeah.
right? And all of a sudden, you can kind of you've put it behind you because that idea of repression and bottling it up means it's going to come back to bite you again, right? It'll come back in a different form, but it needs to be allowed. So that the idea of the home inside myself kind of thing, that is just a beautiful way of putting it.
It's and what you just made me think of so wonderfully with that 90-second approach. um, there are different ways of working with emotions, but for me what's healthy, a healthy one, is there is a container, and whether the container is 90 seconds and then it releases, and then if there's any messages or whatever, then that's like a residue. It's kind of like
Yeah.
the emotion moves through and you see, is there a message? Sometimes if I feel really like angry and I let myself be with the emotion, and then as it is shifting, I can see, oh, there might be a message. I might need to say something to somebody or set a boundary or do an action because there was a message in it, but there was a 90-second container. What I love in this poem is I'm making a home inside myself, a shelter of kindness. What happens if people don't understand this is they say, oh, well, then I need to just feel whatever I'm going to feel, so that that terrified child or that enraged whatever takes over. And I always use the metaphor of who's driving the bus. It's like, no, it's not about letting that emotion just have free range and run everything. I mean, we have people here in this country who are in a rage right now, and they're doing some pretty violent things. It's about, and Jolé does this a lot in her meditations. How do I create a container? And you made me think of it when you said holding the child. The parent needs to have a container that is stable and loving and kind and grounded and dependable and firm and trustworthy, so that then the emotion can release however it needs to release, but in a way that doesn't harm self or others. And I may have shared this before, I can't remember, John, but when I was doing rape crisis work for 8 years, a lot of anger was stirred up.
Mhm.
And I noticed if I didn't watch it, it was coming out in in ways in my life, angry at my husband, or driving aggressively, or just I'm thinking this is this poison inside of me, and if I don't watch it, it's going to come out in ways that just causes more harm. So what I did is I actually developed a meditation where I went inside of Pele the volcano, and I literally created an imagery where Pele had this absolutely firm, grounded boundary, and it was all fire. And I could go in there, and sometimes I did it physically, in my kitchen, stomp around and yell and scream and imagine killing people. And I was totally spiritually incorrect, and swear words and everything else. But it was in Pele because it needed to get out, but I didn't want it spreading to anybody else, and I didn't want it making me sick.
Mm,
So the container, that beautiful image of the parent that holds the emotion, that helps people, because otherwise they feel like, well, I don't want to get in touch with my anger and going out and yelling at the lady at the drugstore. It's like, no, it's that 90 seconds, or it's whatever container. It's the wonderful meditations that Jolé does about bringing yourself in, grounding, releasing. That's a container in which these things can be felt, the message can be received, and then they can be released. So that is important, because otherwise people just think, oh, this is free reign to go and be a what hole. It's like, no,
yeah.
that's not it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it just made me think actually, and I just happen to have this book here, but Eckhart, good
Oh,
old
Tolle,
Eckhart.
yeah.
Yeah, because it just made me think of one of I think it's from A New Earth, when he was talking about when he was seeing a client, and it was like they had this lady who had a huge anger issue, and basically he managed to work it, he managed to get her to let go of the anger, work out where it was coming from, but the energy of anger was still in his office, right? And what happened is that then I think he went to a restaurant for his lunch. And when he was there, he said all of a sudden all this stuff started kicking off. This guy who was in a wheelchair who started getting really angry about something very benign. And then they ended up having to ask him to leave the restaurant. And then he jammed this waitress up against the door with his wheelchair, and he was being really nasty. But again, apparently totally out of character. But what it was, and because the restaurant guy came over to Eckhart in the restaurant, he says, "Did you do that?" You know, but he said what he realized retrospectively, it was the energy of anger that had got, it was stuck to him, but it couldn't enter him because his frequency was too high. So it then latched onto the an element that was closer by, this guy, who then had to enact the anger
Anger.
with
Wow.
this display. But yeah,
Wow. Wow. It's I mean, because again, they're fields, and that's so interesting that he helped her. And by the way, for people who deal a lot with anger, the aromatherapy oil is eucalyptus. Eucalyptus is an incredible oil for helping us move through our own anger in terms of feeling it, honoring it, receiving its message, letting it go. And if you ever go into a room or a place where you feel like just that residue of anger, spray around some eucalyptus, and it totally releases the energy. But I believe that, because I can walk into a room and I'm feeling fine, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, I'm feeling really heavy and depressed, and what is this? Because there's that emotional field that has not been cleared. It's like, my sister had surgery a couple weeks ago, and visiting her in the hospital, it's like I think you could smell lavender 15 feet off of me because
mm,
the energy in those places are just so dense with fear and ugh.
yeah,
So, but yeah, I really believe that we have. So what's interesting is what you're saying is that we're not only responsible to ourselves to keep ourselves as attuned and clear, but that actually affects the environment, because yeah.
yeah, it does. I mean, as it happens, I love eucalyptus. I think it's wonderful.
Oh,
It makes me wish I was angry more often because then it gives me more excuse
you can
to,
use it anyway. It's good for
yeah.
breath and it's actually, it's interesting because so much of your work is about uh, lifting vibration. Eucalyptus is a wonderful oil for enhancing and deepening the breath and the life force. So, of course, you love eucalyptus.
So, and it also reminds me, because again, talking about the residue of emotions that stay within an environment. Okay, so this used to be a a chapel. Okay,
Yeah,
like and it has nice high frequency vibrational energy in this building. It's like what, how old is it now? It's built in 1850. So it's been around a while, but it was here for happy purposes, right?
yeah,
I don't think they did funerals here. They just
no.
did services, and they just we got nobody buried in the back garden. We're okay. But it's got a nice feel to it. But again, as you say, you can go to other places where there is more fear, and you know that that residue sticks. And I know again the same thing is true for planet Earth, because as we said earlier, this is the time of ascension. So the vibrational frequency is rising, but to do that, Gaia Mother Earth herself has to release the energies from all the wars that have appeared, been
That's
around over
right.
thousands of years,
That's right.
and it's
Right.
all trapped under the surface of the earth. So what does that mean? Well, okay, it could mean earthquakes, it could mean
Hmm.
volcanoes, it could
Hmm.
volcanic eruptions, it could be weather, it could be
Hmm.
anything like that.
Hmm.
But also what was interesting as well, I think was it last week, a couple of weeks ago, we did this piece which related to, I think it was the Andromedans, the Andromedan
Mm.
energy.
Mm.
Their that particular skill set is the ability to go in and cleanse these energies. So the Andromedans have been coming to Earth for many thousands of years, right? I mean, I know this is not mainstream kind of speak, but they've been coming here for thousands of years. And one of the reasons the Andromedans are always exceptionally welcome is that they come in to clear the energies, the
Mm.
negative energies that are ingrained. So rather than having to go through multiple earthquakes and tsunamis and all this kind of thing, just get the Andromedans in. They're doing it. And also the other thing that struck me, and I know that Jolé has done this as well for us, but in terms of space clearing, I know that there's Laurie. Laurie is one of the ladies that we've got on our website. One of the things that Laurie does, and she's one of Jolé's friends who she kind of learned all this stuff with decades ago. And
Mm.
Laurie's excellent. And but one of the things that she does is space clearing. A bit, she may have Andromedan heritage, right? As indeed Aveen, who's our Irish friend who does the same sort of things, and she did that in the Atlas Mountains as well. Again, it was like to do with this earthquake where energies got trapped when people died, and
Mhm.
I think this is one of the things that it's almost like the ghost thing. Where does the ghost thing come from? Well, when something traumatic happens, and the soul leaves the body but doesn't go to the light, it kind of gets trapped. And it could be because they've just died in an earthquake. They don't even know they've died.
That they're dead.
But they're actually looking for the because the concern is their brothers, their sisters, their mothers, their fathers, so they don't leave. But and I think that's one of the things that Aveen did. She was over in Morocco and went to the Atlas Mountains because there was a problem because there were so many of these trapped souls, and she helped to release that. Now, that plus what Laurie does, Laurie goes into sort of like even like corporate buildings, which have been around for a few hundred years or for 100 years or so, and you find out, yeah, okay, it's got a very dark energy, and then you find out later, you say, well, oh yeah, this room in particular was bad, and then you go back in history and you find out, oh yeah, that's the room where the murders took place, right?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
once it's cleansed, the energy is lifted.
Right.
Isn't it
That's
weird?
right. It's fascinating, and again, just that's a lot of what the plants also do in terms of aromatherapy, because a lot of what plant we know this with the trees, they literally clean the air. They're like the lungs of the earth. So prayer, meditation, the Andromeda is helping us. Thank you. Um, because the earth is going through a healing crisis. And as you were talking, I was thinking in terms of the poem, it's like we're really being asked to learn how to hold that space of kindness for ourselves, for one another, and for the earth, and thankfully we have help with each other and entities that we don't even know about that are helping us, because she needs to go through this process. And I love that there are people who can help it be less dramatic than it would otherwise be, because there are ways to allow it to unfold, but in a milder way than it, she might need to really let some energy out here, but people can help, or these spirits can be released, and then that puts some of the pressure, or take some of the pressure off of these pressure points where the earth might explode. I have Native American friends who talk about this, that a lot of the ancestors are still around. And for some of them, that's a good thing. They're helping. But there are others who are stuck, like people who go to Gettysburg and they see the orbs of the spirit and they think that's really great. And I'm thinking, maybe I'm not an expert on this, but a part of me would be thinking, I would want to help the orbs leave. It's like
Mm.
if those spirits are still stuck in the place where they died in such a brutal way, um, maybe they need help in moving on. And maybe some stay here because they've made a choice to help, but I think a lot of them are stuck. So thank
Mm.
heavens there are people who know how to help them release.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I remember first time I had my epiphany moment and I went to see Susan Grau, the medium in Orange County in California back in May 2018. Because afterwards, one of the things, the agreements was that my father-in-law who turned up, sort of like a very strong spirit. And she asked him, when we go through into the other room, will you can we see your orb, right? And to make sure we know it's you, pass through the body of John, right? And he agreed to this. This is the weirdest thing, right? Of course, I barely even believed this stuff at the time. So for me, this is wow, right? So we went through into the other room. And the funny thing was, it took a few seconds and you couldn't actually visibly see them yourself, right? I mean, I couldn't have picked up on it. But what she had was a black and white security camera, which was just literally, it wasn't high tech at all, but it was actually viewing the room constantly. So you could look at the screen, that's where you could see the orbs.
They are, yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, it took a few seconds. She said, "Oh, well, they don't know we're here yet." Anyway, not just one came through, but about 10 came through, or 11 or 12 or something like that. And they're all darting around the room. She says, "Oh, they know you're here now." So, and because obviously like my mom had been through and like cousins and various others, and and they're all like darting around the room. Then one splits off and it actually goes through me. So you just think, wow. So orbs can be inevitably those trapped spirits. They can also be spirits that are on the other side that
They come
actually
in.
can come back, and some people can see them.
Yes, yes. I mean, I that's been my experience too, that when my mother came to visit me, I didn't see an orb, but if somebody had that camera, they probably would have. But she's not trapped on this side,
No.
but she was able to come in to interact with me. So I think this is important. We're saying this so that people know we're not saying that all spirits that are here or that show up here are trapped that need to be released. There are some that are on the other side, but they are capable of coming here to be with us, to help us, guide us, etc. And I know it's like just fascinating. Well, how about if we were going to do my love blog,
Oh,
so why don't
yes.
I start that now? And then, but this whole conversation, I think, is within that space of that kind of sphere and that inner room of tenderness. That because we know we're all connected, my inner room of tenderness is also connected to yours and Jolie's and everybody watching this, and including the earth. So
Hmm.
just honoring that. honoring the love that is so much a part of the vibration of that world of unspeakable beauty. So I'm going to read this, and I'll do what I usually do. I'll read it, and then we'll just chat afterwards, okay?
Thank you.
When first listening to Elevated Planet, I appreciated that when John and Jolé spoke about the world of unspeakable beauty, they always mentioned love. The word love is used in so many different ways, though, everything from I love my partner to I love chocolate, that I thought it might be interesting to reflect on the love that both births and is born from unity consciousness. And learning about the chakras, the difference between the emotion feeling of love in the second center and the quality of being practicing love in the fourth has been most helpful for me personally. So I share it, hoping that you might find it useful as we move together through these chaotic times. Second chakra love is an emotion, what we've been talking about here today, one of many important ones for well-being and wholeness and emotional intelligence. Like other emotions, it ranges from mild to strong, enjoyable to painful, waxing and waning depending on internal and external factors. This form of love tends to absorb and identify and is strongly linked to desire. It can arouse awe, sexual energy, creativity, connection. When out of balance, it can lead to the two poles of codependency, either wide open or rigidly shut down. It can attach to the need to fix, to control, and it can be conditional. So second chakra is really about the emotion, like what I'm feeling in this moment. Heart chakra love, on the other hand, is called detached compassion. Detached here does not mean disconnected or dissociated, but rather free from grasping, judging, or personal need. And compassion means a capacity to deeply experience with another, but without unhealthy merging or retreating. I've heard people say that's the difference between empathy and sympathy. Sympathy, the second chakra, I can absorb your emotions, take them on as mine. There's no boundary. I can be flooded by what you're experiencing. Empathy is I'm in myself, my heart is open, and I'm attuned to your experience. It's a love that is deeply touched but not flooded, that moves to assist and support without forcing or controlling, that respects personal boundaries and difference without closing down. It prays for and acts for the highest and holiest outcome, and then lets go of attachment to what that might be. This kind of love will often be blessed by the emotion of love, but the focus here is more on a state of being and caring union with all that is, expressing itself in how one is and in how one acts, no matter whatever emotion is present or not present. And I think of the exhausted parent taking care of a sick, crying, angry child in the middle of the night. The practice here isn't about what that parent feels. They might be feeling pretty aggravated or exhausted at the moment, but rather this is what love does. So this is love as state of being that informs a certain kind of action, no matter what we're happening to be feeling in the moment. I had a very powerful teaching about the difference between these two forms of love in 1988 in a dental office in Santa Cruz, California. Looking at Time magazine, I turned the page and saw a picture of an emaciated woman in Africa holding a dead baby to her breast, and saw a few words on the bottom of the page about what soldiers had done to her. At that moment, I was so overcome with the suffering radiating off that page. Boy, John, talk about that page literally carrying the
Yes,
vibrational
yes.
field of what we were talking about earlier, that if not sitting, I would have fallen, ripped to shreds by her pain, and also the pain that would have caused those men to behave that way, because something was off in them that would allow them to do that. What I thought was my open, empathic, loving heart, but actually was my blown, wide open second chakra, absorbed and was flooded by the horror. What happened next was a shock, because at the time I was a priestess in a Wiccan coven and happily pagan, which, by the way, I am still in many ways happily pagan.
Mm.
In my mind's eye, so I'm sitting in a dentist office in Santa Cruz in my pagan, right? In my mind's eye, Jesus on the cross appeared, and those penetrating brown eyes looked firmly into mine, and he said, "Stop. You cannot and must not bear this. I can and I do until the end of time. Give it to me." It was really clear. Only God, whoever she is, can process that horror. As a human being, that was going to kill me. Stop. You cannot and must not do this. I can and I do until the end of time. Give it to me. Stunned, internally, I consented to his removing the pain overwhelming me. And as that happened, an experience of deep, quiet, fierce, tender, grounded, powerful compassion filled my whole body. My chest was filled with a radiant warmth, and looking at the picture again, my heart was spilling out the most profound care for everyone there, breathing in love, breathing out love, sending blessing, healing, peace, comfort to the woman and for the spirit of her precious child. Images of the soldiers came before me, and in each one I saw the soul ravages that had changed them from little boys playing in mud to ones who lashed out to violate. By the way, later that day, I found the name of Doctors Without Borders who were working in the area, and I've been donating to them for over 30 years. Over the years, Jesus and Divine Mother, Kuan Yin, White Light, Bodhisattva, Buddha, all the great ones have shown me the difference between the love emotion that can override or calcify my boundaries in an unhealthy way and the being love practice that leads to and emerges from unity consciousness. But even with further refinements, nothing has hit home more fully than that initial teaching. We are not meant to carry the pain of the world. The divine does that. But we are invited to become love, become the instruments of love. What could be more unspeakably beautiful than that? And then what we're left with is what are the practices? And they'll be different from, there are hundreds of them.
Mm.
What are the practices that help us cultivate that practice of being love? Because, people will talk a lot about, having an open heart and an unbounded heart. Well, the problem for somebody like me is I was walking around with an unbounded second chakra. And so I'm just literally taking in and processing and metabolizing through my own body the suffering of my family, my alcoholic mother, my clients. Well, and it was making me sick, but I thought that this was what love was. But that
Mm.
was the most profound teaching, to have the aperture of the second chakra at a healthy way where I can feel but not be flooded, feel but not have to rigidly shut down. And then that heart center was a place of profound compassion. And it led to an action. I started donating to Doctors Without Borders, but I wasn't dropping to the floor. I felt, I have never felt stronger and more clear and more present, more the eagle on her perch and the eagle on the ground and the eagle in the sky than at that moment. They were all there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so there we go. That's part one of the interview that I did with Ruah just, a few weeks ago now. But this has been a fantastic opportunity to bring this in. So, part one, what do you think to it so far, Jolé?
It's beautiful, especially how she breaks down the chakras, and her journey. I love the way that she describes emotions in the second, and really how the, what is it, sympathy is in the second, where you take on and you take in. and you just eat up other people's energy, versus empathy, where I can align with you, I can understand you, but there's a boundary there. And that's so important, I believe, because one of the things that I was taught, in my training, was that it's important for you to know where your energy ends and begins, and another person's energy ends and begins. Because once you start commingling or entangling yourself in other people's drama, having sympathy like that, then you start to it's an energy suck.
Yes. Yes, and I get that. And in fact, in part two, which we will be putting out next week, we do explore that very point a little bit deeper, because it's a super valid point, and it's something that's really worth being aware. Because the temptation is that when we see these things, is to allow our own energy, as you say, to get totally drained by the
Mm-hmm.
drama that you're feeling on their behalf, and to be able to circumvent that, because that's not helpful. That doesn't help the people who have the problem, and it certainly doesn't help you individually, right?
Yes.
And to Ruah's point, she was able to turn that round with the help of Jesus and others to kind of make it into understanding, but also the practical angle as well of donating to Doctors Without Borders, right? So,
Yes, exactly.
yeah,
But look at what can happen once you open up and listen to the intuition and flow with the universe. It's nothing but blessings and gifts unflowing. So I don't know what unplugging looks like, for each person, right? It's an individual thing. But
yeah,
once you begin to unplug, it is truly, you may go through a moment of fear and worry and doubt, but that prefrontal cortex will fix itself if you stay persistent with paying attention to your intuition and flowing with the universe. And I know that's very abstract. There's no puzzle piece, there's no like map for each one of us. However, I think whatever your North Star is in terms of internal development, in terms of feeling good about yourself, in terms of staying well and abundant, then that's you're on the right track.
yeah, yeah, right. I mean, that all sounds great. So now, how about we embody this through another beautiful guided meditation visualization by Jolé Gabrielle?
I think that would be wonderful. I think we're going to focus in on the 2 and the 4, right? I think that's what she really spoke about.
True.
Um,
Yeah.
so let's get deeper in digging into what love really is, because sometimes we don't really know what that is, and the people that we love get treated worse than the people that we don't know. So,
It's true. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
so maybe we need to go about trying to fix that a little bit, or transform it
Yes.
into treating everybody with respect.
Yes. I
So,
like that. Very good. Okay. All right. So we are going to switch screens, and we are going to allow Jolé to work her magic. I'm going to switch my camera off, and we will begin the meditation.
okay, put your feet flat on the floor, your palms face up on your thighs, and your awareness, bring that to your chest as you begin to breathe with the rhythm of your body. And now we're going to bring our awareness to between our sit bones and ground our energy by visualizing a grounding cord of a natural earth element connected to our first chakra and generating itself as it moves down through the layers of Mother Earth, through her crust and the lithosphere, and traveling at the speed of love, moving through the asthenosphere and rooting itself into the core of Mother Earth. And it's 6 inches in diameter all the way down. Mother Earth loves us, is grateful for us, and immediately sends in those golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles, because once you ground, she knows that you want to clean off anything that no longer serves you, anything you're ready to let go of and release and be renewed. So as these golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles clean the grounding cord, pull your aura in to be 1.5 feet around you. Just command it to be so. Your higher self standing at the power position above your crown, and your astral body snapped in securely to your physical body. Your soul architecture is now intact. As you bring your awareness back to your chest, begin to breathe with the rhythm of your body. As you open the bottoms of your feet like you would the lens of a camera, and call in 15% earth energy of a color that resonates with you, pooling in the bottoms of your feet, traveling up the side channels of your legs, while simultaneously your crown chakra opens like the lens of a camera, and immediately the divine knows to send that golden life force cosmic energy cascading down from the heavens, raining down on the higher self, going through the aura layer, focusing itself down through the crown, marinating, saturating the brain as it moves along the spine and the vertebra, lighting up each vertebrae on its way down as it mixes in with that earth energy in the first chakra and begins to fill you up like water fills up a cup. This essence of Mother Earth and the divine mixing in with your innate energy as you put a golden sun above your head and 2 roses 5 feet outside your aura layer to the right and to the left of you. And you're going to open your brow chakra like the lens of a camera and basically clean out the past, any of the memories, the information about self and the external world that no longer serves is going to go into those roses outside your aura layer. They're going to fly in there. They're just going to remove themselves from the center of your head and move into those roses while your energy is being called back into that golden sun above your head that has this beautiful magnet on it with your name on it, high-powered, pulling back all your energy from all the people, the places, and the things that may have drained you of it. So as this earth energy, this 15% of a color that resonates with you, and that 85% cosmic gold begins to fill you up and sprouting out of your feet, hands, and crown chakras, that golden sun above your head is being filled with your divine essence, calling it back. And you're getting rid of all of the judgments, the labels, the thoughts, the fears, the worries, the expectations, the people, the places, and the things that are cluttering your mind, your brain. Move it out. As you breathe with the rhythm of your body and letting all of you know you are safe and divinely protected, it is okay for you to let go of the things that no longer serve. So when you're ready, take a deep breath in and give those roses outside your aura an energetic push about 10 feet away from you, and turn them, blow them up, and turn them into positive creative life force energy for anyone to use. And allow for that golden sun to be absorbed in that beautiful golden cascading energy as it comes down through your crown and mixes in with that earth energy and that cosmic life force energy, resolving and dissolving any dis-ease, any illness, bringing in health and wellness, recalibrating and restoring your physical body, your emotional energy, as your chakras are being clean and clear and filled with gold light and earth energy. So from a heart-centered space, here, I want you to feel yourself, and take a moment. And just see love all around you. And feel what it feels like to just be in a vortex of love. And while you're there, and in your mind's eye, say to yourself, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Right from that heart-centered space, say that to yourself. See yourself in your mind's eye, encompassed by your loving heart and the loving energy of the universe. And say, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. You see your mother, your father, your friends, your family, and say that to them all. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And open your heart and allow for forgiveness to come in and restore you and remove and resolve all of the resentments, the rejections, and the regrets. And just bringing in unconditional love for humanity, for your fellow man. And take a moment to see what that looks like for you. How does it feel to authentically love from a neutral place? What does that look like? Visualize that. As you sit in your chest and allow for that 15% earth energy and that 85% cosmic gold that's filling up your body, filling it with wellness, health, love, light, and it's sprouting out of your feet, hands, and crown chakras, filling up that aura layer, cleaning off those cells, magnetizing in your most loving good. As you visualize that neutral, unconditional love, and you see what it looks like towards your mother, your father, your friends, your family, and especially towards you, towards plants, towards animals, towards the disabled, those who God has granted with blessings and gifts different from yours. Let go of the judgments and the labels. Send them down your grounding cord. Have that cosmic and earth energy, transform it into unconditional love. Open your heart and allow for those beautiful, loving emojis, energetic emojis, to pour out of your heart like butterflies, with their hearts into your aura layer all around you. As you breathe with the rhythm of your body, and know that it is safe for you to love and be vulnerable. So as you take a deep breath in and exhale, I want you to bring your awareness to your second chakra, which will be your belly button. It's a little bit beneath it. And breathe into this area. If you'd like, you can put your hand over it. And once again, I want you to do the Ho'oponopono by seeing yourself right in front of you and saying, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Forgiving you and letting go of all of the past experiences where you gave of yourself where you took on other people's energy, or anything that is blocking your creative energy and your pleasure, command it to leave your body by way of your grounding cord, or transform it. Take the lesson and get rid of the charge. As that earth energy and that cosmic divine works with you to move that energy that no longer serves you out, and to move your creativity, your pleasure, and your joy in, especially with boundaries. So let go of the past and forgive yourself. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And this one is just for you. This is the seed of your creativity, your blessings, and your gifts from the divine. You definitely want to set a boundary here and share with only those that your intuition opens for. That's most loving, easy. We're moving into unspeakable beauty. The struggle is over. Let go and forgive yourself. And sit in your second chakra and know that you are divine. Your pleasure is divine. So breathe into your belly. Breathe in that love from the heart. And as you breathe, see the light from the heart move down through the third and move into the second and connect divinely with one another. So you make decisions that are authentic and true to you, so that you can be vulnerable and neutral and at peace. So as you breathe with the rhythm of your body, I want you to take a minute and see yourself. Feel your creative energy. See the flowers growing around you. See the babies and the animals loving you. So now you have the power to use your loving heart and your creative energy to move you into your highest and most loving good. So as you breathe with the rhythm of your body, make sure you tell yourself again, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. The past is no longer. You have been recalibrated and restored. Fear is no more. So as you take a deep breath in and exhale, please close the bottoms of your feet like the lens of a camera and see that earth energy recede back down to Mother Earth. You're going to take another deep breath in and exhale and close your hand chakras and your heart chakras and let that energy settle. As you take another deep breath in, you exhale and you close your brow chakra and your crown chakra, and you watch that cosmic golden life force energy ascend back into the heavens, and all the rest remains. And we're going to put a golden sun above our head before we go. And And it's just going to stay with us, attracting positive energy in all day long. This golden sun is going to be there, right above the higher self, just glowing in beauty. And also our grounding cord is now clean, clear, and filled with gold light. And we are in the present moment. So now take another deep breath in and exhale. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.